Hey, what's up, everyone? So, right now we're going to talk about the whole craziness about what's going on in the country right now. Really want to talk about specifically how it kind of relates to me. We'll go into different topics in the future, but right now, specifically, we want to just talk about what exactly is affecting me personally. Like how everything, economy, the finance, job market, whatever. All right, so kind of break it down. Um, Really, I think the economy, personally, is the biggest thing that is affecting me. So, I own a small business and I have a startup, and I supplement during because of course I run a primarily seasonal business, and how I kind of I have to supplement it, with both kind of applying for some jobs sometimes during like the winter and doing gig work and etc. So, you know, we all know past few years since COVID in 2020, everything has been kind of crazy. With the shutdowns and the economy, the layoffs, and not being able to work in 2020. So I started my business, home improvement, and landscaping, but primarily do most of the landscaping. Started this back in the beginning of 2023, so I've been doing this for 3 years now. So 2023, 2024, and 2025 season. So 3 years, 3 seasons. Um, and for during the 2023 and last year, we're kind of in that peak of the everyone was coming from where I am in Connecticut. People were coming from New York. They're buying houses. Everyone wanted some stuff done with the home improvement. They wanted kitchens redone. They wanted their lawns taken care of. A brush removed. All this crazy stuff. So it was pretty busy. And this year, I noticed, since Trump came in, we got the tariffs in place. Inflation has been kind of stubborn, and now, of course, with the economic conditions worsening, the past 2 months for my business have been the worst since actually started it. So, at my peak, both the 2023 and 2024, actually had 8 to 9 guys that I employed, doing work, landscaping work, improvement work. Now I'm down to 3 to 4 guys, because that's all I can afford to pay, because we're down so much in terms of work. And it's insane because we were pretty consistent here, and even at the beginning of this year. But now, September, October, it's been crazy. This is the least amount of work that I've received. The calls start to dry up. There's days sometimes I don't even get a call. Sometimes there was times, especially last year, the entire day, texts and calls were coming from potential customers, sending out quotes, drawing them up. And then, telling you now, the last 2 months, it's been completely insane. Definitely not good at all. So, it's been a struggle in terms of that. And it, of course, I also run a startup called Vacay Safe. It is a vacation safety themed, so we integrate not only our artificial intelligence software, but we also create travel safety guides and content. So it's a startup. Of course, it's not profitable, and that's definitely something that's more like a side project because I can't use that as like my job. Yeah, but what I was also kind of gonna go back to is saying that because of how economic conditions are so bad, how it's kind of affecting me in terms of my business, now I'm going back to what I used to do in the past, was to do gig work, Uber Eats, DoorDash. I kind of do that sometimes at night, to kind of get the bills paid. It's difficult running a business, especially a small business like handyman, home improvement, contracting, landscaping, because I'm not like one of those multi-million-dollar guys that's got 40 employees and we're making millions of dollars a year and we got a big storefront and etc. They can hire marketers, they can hire office people, they can hire accounting department people, HR. All that's left up to me. So I'm doing all that myself, and then I'm scheduling guys. I'm like the lead foreman on the job, so I'm doing everything at once. And sometimes when I'm doing these jobs, you get out 8 o'clock in the morning, you don't get home till 10, 11 o'clock at night. So it's definitely, it kind of affects your daily life, but it's, it's something I like to do. It's just my business. I like to, I'm passionate about it. But I'm saying the economy as a whole is really affecting people, especially in terms of the prices. When I first started in 2023, things were significantly cheaper, of course, than they are today. But even before I started the company, when I used to work doing this for another company, things were significantly cheaper. So prices are going up. Of course, that means your prices have to climb. The prices of materials significantly, have increased. You go to places like Home Depot or Lowe's to buy these materials, they're, outrageously expensive, and the customers feel the bite of that. They complain, oh, last year you charged me this, now this year it's this. I can't help it. So it affects us too. It affects our relationships with these customers, because then they say, oh, well, you went up. Now, maybe I want to go back to the drawing board and see if can I find someone cheaper. And, when you're a licensed and insured company with a lot of competition, one, because, this line of work, landscaping, home improvement, especially in Fairfield County where I'm located, extremely competitive. We have hundreds of licensed businesses and probably thousands of guys that aren't even licensed. That literally, you can buy a pickup truck used for a few $1,000, get a mower, blower, and a weed whacker, and there you go. You don't even need a license and insurance. And a lot of homeowners, sometimes they'll just hire these guys because, of course, I'm not hating on the hustle, but I'm just saying, like, it's cheaper. They tend to charge cheaper, and they don't have all this overhead, and they don't have multiple guys to pay. They don't have expenses. If you're doing this under the table, you don't have taxes, of course, so they can charge cheaper prices. But someone who has skilled labor, for me, for example, I got guys that are masons. I got guys that are skilled in electricity. I got guys that are skilled in designing kitchens and bathrooms, flooring, painters, landscapers. Some guys that, for example, myself, I've been out there for years doing this, whether or not it was for other companies or doing this for myself. And you don't want to work and make 16, 17 bucks an hour. You want to work and you want to get paid what you think you deserve for your experience. And if I'm designing a brick path and I got years of experience in masonry, I'm not working for 15 bucks an hour. I'm going to charge a decent rate. So it's very hard. And then plus when you're charging for man hours, right, and you're paying, the supplies, you're paying taxes, you're paying insurance, you obviously have the licensing fees, for example. You have wear and tear on the equipment, the supplies for the equipment, the gas, for if you're doing landscaping jobs. So it adds up, and it can cost a lot of money, and it could drag your profit margins down. And despite the last 2 months for me, not being so well, we've actually managed to stay ahead in profitability. I have been profitable ever since starting my business. So I invested about $5,000 when I first started the business. So you've got to make the money back, of course, but we've maintained profitability. And, of course, we had to make cuts, but, reducing the amount of guys that we have. And, of course, it's not only just affecting a small business like myself, but it's affecting larger companies, of course, as well. I mean, they're laying off people. Though, of course, these are multi-million and billion-dollar companies that probably can afford to keep many of these people on. They're just greedy. Smaller businesses like me, we hate to do this. I hate to cut guys. These are hard-working guys. They need jobs just as much as I need a job. But, of course, when you are a small company and you have a high overhead and you're not, you're not a $1 million business with a lot of cash in reserve, it's very hard to keep these guys on. So yeah, I mean, the economy has definitely affected me in my business in that sense. And of course, as I had mentioned, with the past 2 months being so bad, in terms of, pulling in new customers, with the landscaping season dying down now, and, many of the leaves still haven't fallen, so we still really haven't, done our fall cleanups yet. So we're kind of, no more grass cuts, but then you have, no fall cleanups yet. People can't afford to do home improvement stuff. There's a lot of DIY people doing some of that because it's like, okay, I'm not going to pay a contractor to come grout my bathtub or, change locks on my door. I'll just watch a YouTube video and do it and save myself some money. People are, skipping out on the home improvement. We're doing, flooring. We're doing bathrooms. We're doing bedrooms. We're doing kitchens because they can't afford that. And a lot of people right now living paycheck to paycheck. They're struggling to get by. And now, of course, with the whole issue with SNAP benefits not going out. There's a lot of food security shortage, food insecurity right now in the United States. It's terrible what's going on, and it's affecting the middle class. It's affecting the lower classes. It's affecting the small businesses in this country, and it's a terrible and extremely significant problem that is dragging on. It's going to push us into a recession. You can argue maybe we're already in one, but we kind of quote unquote have to go with what the government says. So according to them, we're not, and we're doing better than we ever have. They say this all the time, but we know that's some BS. But yeah, I'm kind of just sharing how it's affecting my business. How now, of course, because of these shortages now, of course, we have to short and can't really put too much money into doing the equipment. Can't buy new equipment. We have to, really ration out the gasoline when we're doing landscaping jobs for the past, month or two. Of course, it hurts. And again, I got to put guys on call instead of actually giving them work. And it sucks. It really does. But, it's unfortunate what's going on in this country. And then, of course, with me, I got to work, and I'm doing, gig work, doing Uber Eats at night, Uber driver, because you got to make some extra money. Those bills got to get paid. And you got to have some money for savings, some money for fun money. You got to have all this stuff. You got to have money for the business, the business, since the margins are so tight right now. I'm trying not to take as much money from the business and from the work we do, like the profit that I make, and I'm trying to keep that in savings for the business, and I'm trying to take as small as a salary as possible. So that's why I have to supplement my work. And I went to college. I have a BA, and I can't find a job with that. I'd like to. I have some issues with my neck and my back. This work is tough, especially when I work as hard as I do, because I don't like to be the boss that sits in the back and shouts orders out. I like to get out there and work with the guys, one-on-one. And it affects you, when you're working 12-hour days, doing this 5 days a week, it can take a huge toll on you. But yeah, just saying, like, now I'm working, Monday through Friday, even sometimes Sunday nights, just trying to put some money in, working extra. With a college degree, best job you can literally find out here is working on like FedEx and Amazon, and I'm gonna be working harder doing that, moving 75-pound boxes, than I will be doing, home improvement, something that I'm skilled at and that I enjoy doing. So, you can. I think some of the Amazon. Well, I'm in Connecticut, and of course, it's different here in terms of wages and how the whole wage system works versus in a place like Georgia or Alabama. We don't work off the federal minimum wage. Our wage right now is $16.35, I believe. But I pay my guys 20 to 25, even 30 if they're like it's an extremely skilled job. Like, for example, if we're doing carpentry, for example, or plumbing, something. We're general contractors. I try to hire the best guys that I can do. We're licensed, insured, but I try to pay my guys as good as possible. So no guy, even the newest guy who starts, will make less than $20 an hour. The 20 is the bottom. We're not doing the 16, 17, 8. We start with 20. So usually when we bring new guys in that are completely unexperienced, we start them off in landscaping because it's something easy. It's the easiest thing to learn. But of course, I got one guy who's been doing roofing and siding and carpentry, and he's been doing this for 40 years. And the fact that he does this for 40 years, he wants to be compensated, of course, so he gets paid extremely well. And I cannot pay him extremely well if I have, had to keep my 8, 9 guys that I used to have on. So of course, I gotta, keep the most skilled guys on, and either had to let some of the guys who were least had the least amount of skills or had been there, not so long. So it's very difficult, if they say the least. And we people, small business owners like myself, we do the best we can, but sometimes we take just as much flack as the big businesses because we're a business and people expect us to, kind of uphold this high standard, which we do the utmost best we can. But we're living in a world now, especially in the United States, where it is becoming more difficult than ever to sustain a business when you're kind of like growing and starting it up. Um, but for sure, again, definitely this whole climate is affecting me significantly. And I'm sure it's affecting other small business owners out there just like me. And again, I got a family. I have a wife. I have brothers. I have sisters. I have parents. I have friends. I have a whole network of people. A lot of people rely on me. I even have I have a friend that works right on side of me, and of course, knowing him, I'm not going to let him go because I've known him longer than many of the people I brought on. He's very skilled. He works hard. I'm going to make sure that I can preserve his job because he also relies on it. So it's very difficult because you have to make difficult choices in such a difficult time period. But, moving on, as I said, yes, I'm working 5-6 days a week, doing, again, besides my business, doing Uber at night to kind of supplement my income. Occasionally, I'm very entrepreneurial, so I like to also, if I have some old stuff, I'll sell it on Facebook Marketplace, on eBay. Again, I have a startup, which is also, something that, very kind of into, shall I say, I am into it. Also like working with artificial intelligence, cryptocurrency, so, I'm doing a lot of studying on that. And aside from my degree, I also have a certificate that I went for certificate program at Yale University, and another certificate program that I took at Michigan State. So, I also wanted to go on for my MBA, but of course, with the load that I have right now, and I live in an area that's very expensive, in Fairfield County, in Connecticut. The bills are outrageous. I have a car bill, you have car insurance, you have rent, you have utilities, food, gas, money to put away, telephone bill. I know this is a whole bunch of different responsibilities, bills, credit card. Of course, then I have to manage the business as well. So, I'm not complaining. I'm not complaining whatsoever in terms of my business. I love what I do. I want to run a business. That's my personal choice. But what I am complaining about is the broader economy in the way that things are so mismanaged and messed up right now, and how the politicians, of course, in this country are not doing their jobs, and how we have gotten to the place where we are right now. So that's what I'm complaining about. Because, again, if they did their jobs and things were better, we probably wouldn't be in such a bad situation. Just saying. And this is not just affecting me, it's affecting tens and millions of other Americans, possibly hundreds, because depending on how you look at it, depending on the statistics, anywhere from 55 to 75% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. So it's bad. Things are bad. And they're gonna get much worse before they get better, if they do get better. And I'm not trying to be a pessimist, but I just want to be a realist here. I want to be an optimist as much as possible, but we have to look at the data. We have to look at the facts, and the facts are not looking good. Again, we know the national debt, we know the deficit, we know that the government is shut down right now, we know that the government is divided as ever. The federal government, especially the Trump administration, is what I'm specifically referring to, is focusing on immigration raids. They're focusing on implementing their agenda, but we don't really see anyone actually focusing on trying to fix the financial situation in this country and the social problems, such as poverty, crime, addiction. These are problems that are not being addressed they're getting significantly worse, and the problems are compounding on top of each other. And again, it will get worse before it gets better. So, what we really need to do right now in this country, and what I would suggest that we do, is literally, again, keep a plan in place and do the best we can in order to just go about our daily lives, but to keep, in the back of our minds that something could erupt at any moment. We need to be prepared. Preparation is key. Sorry, I gotta check my time here, but preparation is key. And I think that the best thing that you can do, or any of y'all can do right now, is to literally, again, just keep a plan in place. If you have a firearm, if you have ammunition, you have food, you have a good network, you have security system on your home, some cash, maybe tucked away somewhere physically. Don't trust the bank accounts. Of course, I'm not saying empty your bank account, empty your 401ks, IRAs. I'm not saying to do any of that. But I'm just saying keep some cash, liquid. And if you can get your hands on some, precious metals, you can get your hands on some valuables, stuff that, in case things went south quickly, it could help you get, some food and get you some gasoline, whatever you need to kind of get the day to day. In case you ever did have something extreme as like a currency collapse in the country. I know that's a topic for a different video because they can get into specifics, details with that. But just giving you a heads up. I know there's something else. Oh, of course, if you got a motor vehicle, keep it gassed up at all times. I know there's something else too. I'm probably forgetting about. I actually am. I literally just had it on the top of my mind. But if it comes back to me, I'll list it. Yeah, as I mentioned, all these things, make sure. Oh yeah, if you have a generator, some type of power supply, and passports. That's the other one. Always keep your passport ready as well, in an accessible place. And yeah, I'm just telling you, things are very crazy now. Things are as bad as they've ever been in modern times here, in our lifetime at least, and we have to be prepared for anything. Things could go south at any moment, and I just want to make sure that everybody is well aware of the dangers that are existing out there. But I'll leave it at that for today because it is getting time. I have some things to do, so until next time, yeah, I just wanted to kind of quickly blow over how it's affecting me and my business and like the economy and things that I have to do to really kind of supplement income so I can make money. But yeah, leave it at that for today.